One of the things I find very striking in your work is that you try to understand the now moment in terms of the whole history of the universe as we know it. I mean, many people take a large view. Goethe said you won't understand yourself if you don't understand all of human history, but you go much farther than Goethe in
Yes,
that
I like
regard.
to go right back to the beginning of the universe to see where we stand, because I think the times we are living through right now is probably the most significant time ever to have lived, not just as a human being, but I think on this planet. I think evolution has brought us to this point where we have a species which has a certain degree of intelligence, I think needs a bit more intelligence, which is capable of creating so much. I mean, we today can do almost anything we think of. We have the technology to do it. If we don't have the technology, we know how to invent it. And yet, at the same time, we could destroy ourselves. We could destroy a lot of life on this planet. And I don't think ever before, as far as we know, has a species arisen on this planet that has that power of creation and that power of destruction simultaneously. And what happens in the next 5, 10, 15 years, out of billions of years of evolution, these years that we, alive now, are living through, are going to be absolutely critical for the future of evolution on this planet.
It seems like an odd coincidence. It's as if, you know, you're born right there with front row seats at the 50-yard line for the Super Bowl or something.
Somebody had to be born in this time, and we happen to be the people who are born in this absolutely critical time in the whole evolution of the planet, not just human history, but the whole evolution of the planet. It's like evolution has been working, I think, towards this point of an intelligent, creative species to see what it can do.
The very thoughts that we think in these years may affect the destiny of the entire planet.
Yes, yes.
That's very profound. That says that the now moment is pregnant with possibilities. This is not a trivial time.
It's not at all. And a lot of what I try to do in my writing and talks and films is to get people to step back and see the significance of these times, because I think so often we are engrossed in what we're doing, our work and paying the bills, whatever it is, watching television. We forget where we stand in history. And that's not to put a huge onus responsibility on us, but just to appreciate almost the magic of the time we are in.
But to be fair about it, Peter, I think throughout history, people have often thought that about themselves, that they were living in the momentous times.
And they were right. They were the most momentous times up to then. I'm sure, you know, if you were living 500 years ago, the beginning of the Renaissance, or Renaissance, however you say it in America, you would have said that was a critical time, and it was. It was probably the most exciting time so far. Or further back, the beginning of the whole Greek culture, that was the most significant time so far. But I think
well, those were crucial times.
They were, but today is far more crucial.
16th century Iceland might not have been so important.
Right, but what was happening then wasn't global.
Yes.
And there wasn't so much hanging in the balance as there is today. So that's why I think today is, let's put it this way, it's the most significant time so far. Maybe in 10 years' time we'll have more significant times.
Well, as you look at the whole process of evolution, beyond biological evolution, but the universe itself unfolding according to the scientific story we know, it seems to you in your writing that the universe is moving toward a kind of self-aware consciousness.
Yes. You can see the evolution as the evolution of matter, which is the way it's normally seen, which is how atoms evolved and got more complex and they collected together to form molecules, and as the molecules grew you had viruses and you had simple life forms, you had simple cells collected together and became more complex cells, and that whole growth up to beings such as ourselves, which is the normal way we look at it, the physical side.
Right.
But you can also look at evolution as the evolution of consciousness. Now, I believe all creatures are conscious. Even a simple amoeba is conscious. I don't think you can draw a line anywhere, because by conscious I mean a sentient being.
That there's some awareness.
There is some awareness.
Perhaps not self-awareness, and certainly not language.
Exactly. A dog is aware. I think anybody who's had a dog as a pet, or a cat or a horse, they're clearly an aware creature. They cannot speak, may not be aware of so many things as us, but they're aware. Maybe a fish is aware, but not aware of so much. What's happened, if you look at the evolution up from simple cells, is that a bacterium is probably just aware of very vague sense of heat and light, maybe, or vibration. As organisms evolved, the senses became more complex. Eyes evolved, which could detect better spectrum of light and fill in the details, and hearing evolved, which meant the vibrations weren't just a sense of vibration in the body, you could pinpoint where the vibration was coming from. So the senses have been continually evolving, and with that we evolved brains, or life evolved brains, to process all that information that was coming in through the senses, and then to store it and remember it and then use it for later use. What happened with human beings is, in terms of our consciousness of the world around, I would say we're no different from dogs or horses. In fact, dogs are probably better than us. Their smell is better, and possibly their sight in some areas is better. But I think what is special about human beings is we've developed language. And with language, we can begin to share our learnings with each other. A dog learns basically from its own experience of life. We learn from our own experience, but we also learn from everybody else's experience who's gone before us. We learn from our parents. We learn at school the knowledge that has been built up in our society. So we are a collective learning system. We are building up this huge body of knowledge. So our awareness of the world is much, much greater than any animal's awareness, because we have this ability to share through language our learning. So we're building up this collective body of knowledge. And it started with language, whenever that emerged, what was it, 50,000 years ago, we're not quite sure, something like that. And then we developed writing, which meant we could begin to record our ideas and take them to other people. And then the printing press, that we could reproduce ideas much faster. Then we've gone through telephones and things like that, and now we have computers and satellites beginning to link us together into one single informational unit.
It's as if what we're doing with the electronic communications linking the planet now is creating an extension of our own nervous systems.
Yes, very much. In fact, it's almost like we are the nervous system of the planet. There's an interesting idea which has been around for about 20 years, which was put forward by James Lovelock, an English chemist, who put forward the idea that the whole planet can be seen as a living organism.
The Gaia hypothesis.
The Gaia hypothesis, yes. Gaia is the Greek goddess of the earth, Mother Earth goddess. He called it the Gaia hypothesis, suggesting the whole planet is like one single living system.
Yes.
In which case, we must say, what is our role in it? You know, you can say the rainforests play a role, and maybe certain bacterium play a role. Everything has its role to play in this huge organism. What is humanity doing here? And to me, there are two possible answers to that question, and maybe they're both true. One is we seem to be like a nervous system, because we process information far better than any other creature on this planet, mainly because we have language. So we are the information processor, which makes us like the nerve cells of this huge planetary organism, which is why I sometimes call humanity the global brain.
Yes.
The other possibility is we are a cancerous growth, because the planet has survived perfectly well without humanity for billions of years, 4.5 billion years, and now, just in the last 1 million years, which is 1/4000th of the planet's history, humanity arises, and then in just a tiny fraction of a second of the Earth's history goes crazy. We are destroying the planet like a cancer destroys a body. And it's interesting to take a photograph of a cancer in a body and look at a photograph of the way a city grows out into its environment. They're very parallel.